So what do you think? Do you come from a more high power distance culture or a more low power or small power distance culture? So let's talk about servant leadership. In the Western world, in individualist cultures, we have an abundance of teaching on servant leadership. In management courses, trainers emphasize on-the-floor management, where managers should develop friendly relationships with those they lead, and the trainers encourage participatory management, where staff are invited to contribute to the decision-making process. And good leaders provide for their staff and will even serve them so the staff can work more effectively. However, if leadership depends on position, titles, and status, as we see in high power distance cultures, and if directors naturally give orders from the top, how should we practice servant leadership? And so the question is, does servant leadership work in all cultures? Does it make sense for a leader to be a servant? Yes, Jesus, the master leader, served others, but he also used his authority. He commanded others and rebuked people if they were not doing things rightly. So, should a leader serve their staff, or rather should the staff serve their leader? Should a teacher close his or her distance with the students? Perhaps listen more to them and have more STT, that is, student talking time, and not just TTT, teacher talking time? Have breakout groups and discussion sessions and so on. Many Western-based organizations wanting to do leadership training for their multicultural teams or national teams in other cross-cultural situations, they will teach or promote group participation and servant leadership, but often with little awareness of the high-power distant cultures around them. I was doing one seminar discussing this very issue, and a teacher shared his experience. He said, I was in an education seminar where they taught STT, student talking time, student involvement, and all those nice-sounding democratic techniques. I liked the idea, it sounded great, and so I tried to implement those methods. But it didn't take long, and I lost control of the classroom, and worst of all, I lost my reputation as a teacher. And I just resorted back to my directive approach. Another colleague told me about an educational seminar for teachers where the Western instructor, they had come from abroad, they waxed eloquent about student participation, how this would heighten student learning. The teachers agreed. But as soon as the seminar was over and the instructor was gone, the teachers defaulted back to top-down teaching. Why this natural default return to top-down approach? Even though in an ideal sense, the egalitarian democratic approach to leadership and management and education gets nods of approval. It sounds so right and good. As I said earlier, some cultures are naturally inclined to high power distance. And we cannot say that one approach is better than the other. In fact, Hofstede says, and I want to just quote him here, there is no research evidence of a systematic difference in effectiveness between organizations in large power distance versus small power distance countries. And I would say this is much the same in the school scenario as in the workplace. Cultures that are more horizontal are better at work that expects initiative, even on subordinate levels. But cultures that are hierarchical or directive are better at tasks that require discipline and order. Let's step back and Why don't you go through this activity which asks the question, which approach